Hey there, welcome back to Science Flixtion. My name is Salim, and as always, I'm joined by Carl Eames. Carl, how are you doing?
Trying to figure out all the things that should be here. There we go. We're missing that. There we go. Background. I'm good. I'm running the show tonight. And apologize for anything that's not as smooth as it normally is, but I'm gonna do my best. But how are you doing, Salim?
Doing well. Just moved into my apartment. Not settled in yet. Sort of just been doing some unpacking and random things. I still have to get my sofa, so I'm like sitting on random chairs while I do anything in the living room. But yeah, I gotta start slowly unpacking everything. I gotta hang up my clothes. Uh, my bathroom's for the most part set up, but yeah, just
How long
slowly
have you been in the
unpacking.
place?
It's only been a few days now. So what today's Wednesday, right? So I moved in Sunday. So not too long, not too long. Hey, King Pookie, Cliff, uh, Quantez. I hope that pronounced that name correctly. I think I did, but apologize if I'm wrong on that. But thanks for joining us, guys.
All right, so we're gonna get started with the show. We've got we're gonna talk about Thor: Love and Thunder as our
Right.
main topic tonight. We both seen it, and we have things to discuss, of course. But before we do anything like that, we've got our fast flicks. So let's get started with that.
Right. So the first fast flick, which was kind of surprising to me, um, I thought at first it was just like one of those fan rumors, but I dug more into it, and I guess they said that Taron Egerton, like he's obviously most famous. People know him from Kingsman. He played Eggsy in Kingsman franchise. Met with Marvel, actually met with them about playing Wolverine, and he also met with like Kevin Feige. Like it's nothing confirmed. Uh, it's nothing confirmed, I guess, obviously, but I guess it says like if and then furthermore, like if the X-Men do join the MCU, like Egerton is really eagerly he wants to play that character. Um, and obviously it'd be more so iconic and all. It was an interesting choice. I mean, obviously I've only seen him in like the Kingsman. I can't remember what else I've seen him in. What are your thoughts on that? Like, obviously we always say like we would need to see it play out and how he does in the role before you actually say like, oh, I don't like it or I like it. But like, just even with that said, like, just your initial reaction if he were to be Logan, aka Wolverine.
Well, like you said, I wait to see it, but I've never seen him act in anything. I haven't watched any of the Kingsman movies, so I really can't judge and say whether or not he would be a good actor for the role. Visually, though, I'm okay with it. I mean, I can see like the good jawline he has there. I don't know how tall he is. Maybe I should have looked that up, but
He's
ahead
like
of
five
time.
nine.
Okay,
He's a little shorter, I think, than Jackman. I think Jackman is like six
Jackman's like
foot.
6 foot. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's
So I mean,
probably
we're getting there eventually. Maybe
well,
50 years from now we'll
Danny
find someone's
DeVito.
5'3".
Danny DeVito. That's
Yeah,
yeah.
well, I don't know about Danny DeVito, but I remember the rumors from back in the day in the fan castings. But yeah, like I know I don't really know anything about him, but at least visually I'm okay with it. Of course, like Hugh Jackman when he first started, with the X-Men, he was just a tall, skinny guy, and then over time by the time X3 and the Wolverine Origins, X-Men Origins Wolverine movie came out, he got pretty ripped for those. And then by the time the end of his run as Wolverine with the Days of Future Past, Logan, those movies, he was super jacked. So if he's committed, I mean, I just saw clips of Chris Hemsworth and him working out for Thor: Love and Thunder, and
Uh-huh.
his routine and stuff like that. So uh, he got pretty. Obviously, we've seen the movie. He's pretty ripped for that. So anybody can really take 6 months and pack on some muscles and stuff like that. So I'm not terribly worried about his fitness level, now because anyone can do it. Natalie Portman did it, and so on. But in general, I think he looks okay. Get his hair spiked up and maybe a little bit of a tan and work on that Canadian accent, and that's all that really matters, right?
Yeah. I mean, they juice these guys up too, so that helps them bulk up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's the bulking up is not anything to be concerned about because, like I said, obviously they work out, but they get a little extra help from uh, a a doctor's prescribed uh, legal esque juicing, if you will. But yeah, I mean, my initial reaction was like he seemed kind of young to play Wolverine. I was surprised he's 31 because he just looks younger. He looks like he's like if you told me he was 25, I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, he looks 25. And I was actually surprised. Jackman was 31 as well when he first played Wolverine. Like I was thinking Jackman was like 40, and I looked at his age. Oh, he's only 53. Like I thought he was older. Like not that I
Hmm.
think Jackman looks old. I just for some reason I thought Jackman was like 10 years older than he actually was. For some reason I thought I was like, oh, because like in a sense like oh he looks pretty good for a 63-year-old guy. Like he doesn't look 63. Um, that's Hugh Jackman, that is. But
Hmm.
yeah, I was surprised. I was like, oh, okay, Jackman was also 31. So they're the same age when they first would started playing Wolverine. Um, Obviously, the big thing is we've talked about this in the past where Hugh Jackman has owned that role like over like almost 2 decades now.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like a anyone that takes it up is going to be put under the microscope, no matter who it is. Even he was like, there's a quote from him saying, like, being kind of reluctant to take from Jackman, but he still would want to try. Like, he's like, I'd be excited, but I'd be apprehensive as well because Hugh is so associated with the role that I wonder if it'd be very difficult for someone else to do it, Egerton said. But hopefully, if it does come around, they'll give me a shot. Like, he understands, like, the tall task that he would be up against if he got that role. And anyone really, like I said,
Yeah.
gets that role, that's going to be a tall task for them to take over Wolverine, because like of all the bad things in the Fox X-Men universe, like he was Wolverine generally was one like of the only good parts about that, like that for me at least for the Fox universe. Obviously, Wolverine here and there, the movies were whatever, but like Hugh Jackman as Wolverine was just really that, and I think most people obviously agree with that. But
Yeah, there
yeah,
was some
like
rocky years in there with Wolverine, but in general,
uh, no, I'm talking
yeah,
about the movies. Yeah, no, the movies, whatever. I'm just talking about Hugh Jackman
the
himself.
character, yeah. Hmm.
I'm talking about Hugh Jackman as Wolverine himself. I'm not talking about the movies and some of the bad movies that they made and stuff. Yeah, that's different. I'm just talking about Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I thought he always did a really good job for the most part. Um, but yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens as they start announcing it more and more and who they'll cast in these because it seems like they're going to probably start ramping it up. I'd imagine here soon to start casting some of these because obviously they're more and more they're bringing up X-Men stuff or mutant stuff in Phase 4, like we're seeing, and Ms. Marvel. I don't know if I want to give that spoiler away. Never mind. But yeah, yeah. So we'll see what happens with that. If that's the way they go, I'll be open to it. But the next fast flick as we move on, it was officially announced that this is something you and I also speculated. Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio returning for Marvel series Echo, so they are going to be in there. At least Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio is. Now we also probably, I think we also kind of speculated if they would have the entire cast of Daredevil. That hasn't been announced yet, but yeah, they've unfortunately joined the cast in the series for Disney Plus. It's unclear right now, though, what capacity that they'll be involved in the show, or if D'Onofrio and Cox will even share like screen time together much. But we know in the comics, Echo and Daredevil are closely like have a close relationship in there because they're both hearing and seeing impaired. Like they both have a disability in that regard, so they're kind of intertwined in the comics. So it makes sense that they put him in her show. Well, what are your thoughts on that, Carl?
Yeah, like I said, I can't remember if we actually discussed officially about Daredevil season 4 on Science Fiction, but that is
Right.
something that is officially happening as well.
Yeah, we
Um,
did.
Okay, yeah, I thought so. But one thing I'm pretty sure we haven't discussed is all of these actors and stuff. I mean, we talked about it lightly, but I've heard rumors already of Jessica Jones possibly
Mm-hmm.
appearing in both the She-Hulk series, which is coming out next month on Disney Plus, as well as in either an Echo or Daredevil. I wasn't. I can't remember off the top of my head which one, but she is possibly showing up in both of those series, and that she is supposed to be coming back, and is still like up in the air about Mike Coulter's Luke Cage because he is doing another show right now, and haven't heard anything about Iron Fist or Punisher at the moment. And then Chloe Bennett is supposedly, I mean, because we have Secret Invasion is another show. Like after She-Hulk, I believe Secret Invasion is the next show, and Chloe Bennett is rumored to be a part of that show. So we could be seeing all of these characters return in some way, shape, or form very soon. Like I said, they're already filming Echo right now, so that's like a next year show. Where again, She-Hulk's coming out next month
Right.
and Secret Invasion is probably later on this year.
Right. Q from Cincy had a quick question. What channel does the Daredevil come on? You can actually watch the first 3 seasons on Disney Plus. Q. Um, they have them on there now. I don't know if you have Disney Plus, but yeah, you can check that all three out. Me and Carl highly recommend it because that
Yes.
is an excellent show. So you should definitely check that out. Um, but just a heads up, though, I believe MCU is changing. They're doing a soft reboot, I believe, of what they'll be like in MCU. But still, check out that show because it is very very good. Yeah. So, any final thoughts on this, Echo, as we move on? Before we move on.
No, that's it. That's good.
Okay. So Captain America 4 finally has a director as Julius Ona. Now, I had not previously heard of Mr. Julius Ona, and I looked at his credits, and the only movie I recognize, he's done the Cloverfield Paradox. I haven't seen that movie, but I remember it just because I had watched the other couple of Cloverfield movies, and he had done the Cloverfield Paradox. And overall, he doesn't have a strong like. I mean, not to say that's bad or anything. Just he doesn't have like a big, like long list of things that he's directed that were like big movies. I think this might be like his big break potentially. Um, in a sense, like being in that spotlight, really, like in as far as like a big motion picture is concerned. Um, yeah, so they finally announced that. I think it's going to be interesting. I mean, we're starting to hear. I think last time what we had heard about Captain America 4 what kind of annoyed me. And they had said like they were going to have it where Sam was still trying to earn being Captain America. And I was like, that's what Falcon and Winter Soldier was for. That was the end episode where he's, especially in the end episode, I should say, he's going through that and coming through that realization. So I was like, why are they continuing that? Like, I don't think they should. And maybe that they won't. But that was supposedly the rumor that the plot is kind of going to be like. What are your thoughts on Captain America 4 and obviously Julius Ona as the director?
I don't. Yeah, I've never seen Cloverfield Paradox, so I don't have any impressions of his art direction or style. But as far as the story goes, I mean, they can go any number of ways. But if it's like what you're saying, I feel like it's giving me the impression not that he's trying to accept being Captain America again, because that happened in the show, but more of people in America accepting him as Captain America. That's what I hear when I hear you say that, but not
But
necessarily
that but that's
me.
what but that's what Falcon and Winter Soldier was. It was both. It was kind of like he was apprehensive to take over because he knew the perception of a black Captain America, and obviously they had uh, showing where there was a black person that took the super soldier serum, and what happened to him like was completely unjust and so forth. And it was that same kind of battle. And then the final episode, he kind of supplanted himself. Yeah, I'm Captain America, and people they started following his lead. So I feel like I mean I can see maybe it being a slight like some people being apprehensive, but like
That's what I mean.
I hope it's not like a whole like thing that's like the movie. It's like the whole movie is kind of about that. It would be kind of like I would like
No,
want them
no,
to kind
definitely
of
not, because that's why you do it on a TV series. Nobody wants to watch a 2-hour movie about Captain America fighting or trying to be accepted by the American people. That'll be like a small subplot of what's going on, and possibly him also. He has to be accepted by the rest of the Avengers too, because that's all just like at the end of Endgame. Yeah, he gave him the shield and all that, but we don't know how the rest of the Avengers feel. We don't know how Hawkeye feels about this, or how whoever's left on the team at this point. Because who really knows it? Who other than Hawkeye, who's left on that team? But it's more of that being like a subplot, and there still would be a villain of some sort, whoever that might be. I have no idea. It could be Zola again. It could be I don't even know Captain America villains that are left outside of Red Skull. I mean, Red Skull's been used, but like I don't know who's left that they can pull from. Yeah, I'm not really 100% sure on that, but that's I think it's more of like a subplot, not like the main part, because no one's gonna watch that. They want to see him punch robots and bad guys and fly around and shoot things and stuff, and you can't do that if you're just trying to be accepted by the American people.
right. So yeah, I guess we'll be interesting to see what happens with the movie. As they start. I don't think when is production? Do you remember when production starts for that?
This no, I mean they just got the director, so I can't imagine.
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
not an official, but like, did you know? Like, did they have an estimate on when they wanted to?
No, not that I know of. I mean, they don't have a projected like a set date, a slot for it. They don't have a slot for it, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah,
Okay.
it's pretty much like a
So
phase into phase 4 or phase 5 because I don't even know when the phase 4 phase is ending. To be honest with you.
right, right. It will be yeah. There's no like real. I mean, there's a rumor that I guess Kevin Feige and the rest of the executives um, at MCU Marvel are going to plan out the next 10 years. Supposedly, I don't know how concrete that's going to be of the 10 years. I'm imagining it's going to be pretty concrete, but yeah, there's not really a end. Like we knew, like when each Avenger was going to come out, movie was going to come out, and that was going to be the end of the phase 1 and phase 2. This is kind of almost feels like they're um, freestyling it, phase 4 almost. Like there's no like we don't know what's gonna be. Is it gonna be Ant Man and Wasp Quantico? Um, uh, or is it Quantumania? No, Quantumania.
Quantumania.
Right? Quantumania. I keep saying Quantica. Quantica's a show that was on for like 3-4 seasons. Quantumania. Maybe that's going to be the end of Phase 4, potentially, because obviously Kang the Conqueror is supposed to be like the big villain, and they already teased them, so maybe that could be the end of Phase 4. But we'll find out eventually. I'm sure it's going to be announced if they are planning like the next 10 years. I'm sure they'll probably sneak that, and maybe you'll find that out in Comic Con, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But moving on, so there is a little trailer that was released. I don't think this is a comic book movie. I don't believe so. It's on. It's going to be on Netflix. It's about Snoop Dogg and Jamie Foxx, who are vampire slayers. But we do have the trailer, which we're going to play really quick.
It's going to be a hot one in Los Angeles.
So what's on the agenda today?
My eyes are closed.
Like every day.
What are you doing in my room?
Hunting vampires. Money.
Vampire hunting is a business. Cut necks and cash your checks. Well, things have changed since you got your ass kicked out the union.
If I don't come up with 10K, my wife and my daughter are gonna move to Florida.
Hi, Dad. You're late again.
And the union is the only place that could give me that kind of money.
Your record is chock full of incidents. But he's a new man. One last chance. This is your final warning.
Let's get crazy.
Oh, no! Help me!
Vampires just tried to kill me. Now I just pissed my favorite fucking
Hey, everybody pisses themselves the first time.
Really?
Yeah.
Did
yeah.
you?
No, I didn't, but listen, you did. You know what I see when I see a vamp? Big old dollar sign. Hey, don't you puke in here.
I swallowed it.
Locked and loaded. Doggy dog in the motherfucking...
Vampires. They live amongst us. And all they are is murderers. Does not eclipse, new moon, breaking dawn, point one. It ain't like that, all right?
Why do you know the names to all the specific Twilight films?
What?
And what's your gripe with Breaking Dawn Part 2? It's the exciting conclusion of the whole Twilight saga.
Welcome to the day shift, motherfucker.
Works every time.
Murder was the case that they gave me.
So that was Day Shift. That looks fun. I'm
Yeah,
definitely gonna.
yeah, when it popped up, I completely ignored it because I was like, "Oh, a Jamie Foxx movie," and I just kept scrolling. And then when I was looking for trailers and stuff just to see what's happened in the last couple weeks, and it said like the sci-fi. Oh, sci-fi, we do. What is this about? And I didn't even realize it was about vampires, but it looks fun. It was like just a cool action comedy about vampires, and apparently during the day. So yeah, I'm wondering what that's all about, and it comes out next month. So if you got
Yeah, maybe they're
Netflix,
like.
just
Yeah, maybe they're like vampire zombies or something. Like they can just be around whenever.
yeah,
Some of those look like zombie-esque vampires. They were just acting wild and just not really normal. But the other ones were a little bit more and under control. But yeah, it looks fun. I think it's definitely something we'll check out. We'll talk about it too when we watch it. So moving on. This is what I was talking about with a little bit about Comic Con. Um, Marvel Studios are returning to the San Diego Comic Con in Hall H. So during the press conference for Thor: Love and Thunder, Marvel president Kevin Feige confirmed that Marvel Studios will be present at San Diego Comic Con in 2022, marking Disney's own studio's first appearance in the event since 2019. I guess there was a rumor that they were not going to go be there again this year, but he obviously squashed that rumor, and it is confirmed that they will be there. I want to go to these one of these days. I think one of these days I'm gonna just plan a trip and go to one of these things just as a vacation and check out like the Grand Comic Con, the one that they show all the cool stuff, and we miss it because we're not there. What are your thoughts on that? You
tough to
excited?
I would say it's tough to get actual badges for it. So most people go to Comic Con, don't actually have badges. They just hang out. Like you remember at C2E2, you get your
Right.
badge, you go through security, and then there's that area like people right before security, people are just hanging out, and then you go through security, and then you actually go in. Imagine that with 10 times more people, but a bunch of people not actually going through security. They just go inside and just hang out right before that because they don't have a badge. And a lot of people just do that.
Is it like you have to be rich to get a badge or something? Like, what's the deal? Or they
It,
just run
it
out
is,
really
and
quick?
you have to get into at least if the process hasn't changed since the last time I attempted. You have to go and like a virtual waiting list, like a waiting line and stuff like that. And what they do is anyone that has bought, like once you register, if you had bought a badge the year prior, you get priority to buy another badge. So if you've been going, you get to keep going. And they don't have a finite number of badges. So if you have to hope that people that went last year didn't go, so there's a certain set amount of badges available for new people to come, and hopefully you got into the queue early enough to get a badge. So
Maybe I
it's
can
not
enter
easy.
my. Maybe I can enter in for how do they have these once a year? Right? I forget.
Hmm.
Maybe I can just enter right now for like 2023. I don't know. I don't know how that works. I don't know what the queue is. Maybe I'll do some research on it and see what the process is like exactly, and figure that out. But I'm hoping like I always hope for is like there's leaks. Like we can like a trailer somebody like just posts. Like you said, I think you mentioned earlier that um, Black Panther is potentially going to have their trailer release there, or a teaser trailer or whatever release there. So um, maybe we could get a leak of that. That would be interesting. I think.
Yeah, so definitively, what is being showed at like they've publicly said what's going to be shown at Hall H and Comic Con is going to be some sneak peeks or teaser trailers or just like some sort of footage with the X-Men '97 animated series.
Right.
The which is all these are Disney Plus stuff. So the X-Men animated series that's coming out, either later this year or next year. I'm not sure. The Marvel Zombies, as well as What If season 2. So all of that is definitively going to have some sort of showing at Hall H and Comic Con. Now the rumor is that we're going to see a trailer for Black Panther 2. Again, She-Hulk comes out next month, so we might see some more footage there. Especially, you got a lot of people that are a little iffy on how the visuals look. They might be a good opportunity to show off, hey, we've improved She-Hulk, and here's a new trailer for it. So that's going to be a good spot. But there's rumors of Black Panther 2 trailer going to show up there. And then there's a good chance also that they could show some footage for future movies as well. So there could be Ant-Man footage there, and some other stuff, maybe some of the holiday things. I think there's like a Groot special, and then the Werewolf by Night. We see some of that stuff as well. One thing though, if we do see Black Panther, because it's kind of related, and Salim and I were chatting about this right before the stream, is that there is concept art that has already been, I don't know if it's leaked or released or however it got out, of Namor the Submariner. So this isn't like the actual picture of him, but it's just concept. So he'll look something like this when he's in the Black Panther 2 movie. So again, Black Panther 2 comes out in November of this year, and hopefully we'll see a trailer on that soon. But what the deal is with Namor in this movie is going to be a little bit different than his comic book counterpart as far as origins and stuff. This one's very, I believe it's Aztec, maybe Mayan. I'm sorry if I'm not sure which one it is, but inspired by that. He's still going to be Atlantean, so he's basically the Atlanteans are like blue-skinned people, whereas Namor, he has like your average human skin because he is a mix of Atlantean and, I'm just going to say Aztec. I could be wrong. Probably Mayan. Let's just say Mayan cultures, because he's half human, half Atlantean. So he's going to have that. But his look is inspired by the Mayan culture, or whichever one it is. And yeah, he's going to be hopefully, kicking ass. He does have wings on his feet. There's like a better full image than what I have here, but he does have small wings on his feet as well. What do you think of this look, Salim?
It's different, obviously, definitely from the comic. Yeah, I'm hoping to see it. Like I didn't read a lot of like comics with Prince Namor in them. He's actually one of the oldest comic book characters in Marvel, so it'll be interesting. His role, so Quincy from Q from Cincy, his role in the comics, he's essentially the Prince of Atlantis, and that's what he's going to be in Black Panther. And in the comics, again, Wakanda and Atlantis are always in conflict with each other. They're rivals. So essentially, I don't know if you remember in Endgame, there is a brief teaser of Atlantis when what's her name? When Okoye, Okoye, the character, I couldn't think of her name. When Okoye is all four of the, like, I think it's Groot. Oh, not Groot. Sorry, Rocket Raccoon, War Machine, aka Rhodey, Okoye, and then the fourth person, I forget who it is.
Captain Marvel.
Yeah, Captain Marvel. They're talking to Black Widow, and Black Widow asks her about, or like, there are quakes underneath the water around Wakanda or something like that, and they ask her what Okoye plans to do about it. She's like, "We're going to ignore it. That's what we're going to do about it." Essentially, that's a teaser right there that it's Atlantis. The quakes are the noise that's happening down there. It's Atlantis, and they're just, Wakanda is not going to interfere with Atlantis, or they're just, because it's just kind of like that teaser set in place that potentially Atlantis is going to be in Black Panther 2. That's when they first kind of teased it. So, but yeah, that's essentially what he is a character. So yeah, technically, you're Q from Quincy. Yeah, he is technically Aquaman for Marvel in a sense.
In
Obviously,
a sense.
they're different storylines. They're not exactly the same.
Yeah,
But
technically Namor actually debuted as a character before Aquaman.
right,
And they're changing, but because Aquaman hit the movies first, they are changing the backstory, so it's not exactly like, because he is half human, half Atlantean, but they don't want it to be the same way it was in comics. That's why they're going, because that whole Aztecan influence is something specific to the MCU. That's not in the comics at all. So adding that,
right,
it basically gives it a lot more flavor to it than what it would be, and makes him a lot more distinctive from Aquaman. But they're going to add a whole lot more. But whether we don't know exactly what his role is going to be in the movie, but we know his comic book version. He's basically a big asshole. He is very
yeah.
much an arrogant asshole,
Mhm.
and he and T'Challa conflict a lot. Obviously, we know
Right.
T'Challa is not going to be in this movie because R.I.P. Chadwick Boseman. We don't know exactly what they're going to do with that either. So hopefully, Comic-Con is in a few weeks from now. It's like literally next weekend or the weekend after next. So we should have some answers on that very soon. But we don't know his role. We don't know if he is the bad guy or if he's just a bad guy in the movie among something else. I think I also heard rumors of Doctor Doom, but I don't think he's gonna happen. I think that's kind of stuffing the movie a little too much, but we'll see. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's about it.
right. He is a anti-hero in the comics, so he's not like a regular like hero. He's at times he's been sided with like the Avengers, and there's times that he's opposed them. He's obviously in the comics. He's for Atlantis. He's not for for Earth, like land walkers or whatever, people on the surface, essentially. So yeah, it'll be interesting what happens there. But yeah, let's move on. Let's get into our main topic here. We both watched Thor: Love and Thunder. We're gonna discuss that and give our thoughts on the movie. There are going to be spoilers. I mean, some spoilers. I don't know. I mean, there's going to be a decent amount of spoilers, I should say, especially when we talk about the post-credit scenes. So if you haven't seen the movie, I would recommend that you stop listening at this point. But do come back and listen after you watch the movie to see what we talked about. But first, what we're going to do, though, is we're going to play the Marvel official Thor and Love and Thunder official trailer. Just in case to people who haven't seen the trailer yet, and just kind of give you a feel for the movie before we start talking about it.
Kids, get your popcorn now. Let me tell you the story of the space Viking, Thor Odinson. He was no ordinary man. He was a god. After saving planet Earth for the 500th time, Thor set off on a new journey. Well, he got in shape. He went from dad bod to god bod. And after all that, he reclaimed his title as the one and only Thor. Oh, spoke too soon.
Jane? The old ex-girlfriend.
What's it been like? 3, 4 years?
8 years, 7 months, and 6 days, give or take.
Am I sensing feelings?
Well, you're right.
The only ones who gods care about is themselves.
So this is my vow.
All gods will die.
I just want to say that was very, very impressive what you did back there.
He's just my first bad guy.
You never forget your first.
You are not like Yeah, the gods of kill. Because I have something worth fighting for.
Let's see who you are. And take off your disguise. And flick.
Oh, you flick too hard, damn it!
Should we help him?
And eventually, grape.
So that was the trailer for Thor: Love and Thunder. So again, Carl and I did watch the movie. Carl, I'll let you go first and give me your thoughts on what you thought after you saw this.
So, Thor: Love and Thunder. I absolutely enjoyed this movie. If I had to give it a quick, what did you really think? Would give it a rating? I give it maybe like a 7.5 or an 8 out of 10. I do think that Thor Ragnarok is a better movie overall. At least I'm in that camp. I saw Cliff, I believe, was saying earlier how divisive people are on this movie, and it's kind of interesting. I mean, it's kind of been that way for the last couple of movies MCU has been putting out, especially Doctor Strange and so a few others. I mean, maybe No Way Home is the one everyone loved, but other than that, I think people have been pretty divisive, in particular with this one. I do like it. I think it's a very good movie. It's very funny. It's very enjoyable. I love the colors, the music. I think the performance from Christian Bale was okay. I've never seen American Psycho before, but I feel like I have now because of watching his gore performance. Because I've seen clips of American Psycho, and it's just like, okay, yeah, that's kind of the same character, at least that I've seen in those clips. And yeah, overall, Chris Hemsworth, funny still. He's still got it. He's still um, doing great as Thor. Like we're saying, he's pretty jacked in this one. I think this is probably the most fit he's ever looked in any of the MCU movies he's ever been in. And one of the funniest, again, I do think that Thor Ragnarok is a little bit better overall. And again, the movie's not without its faults either. As far as Natalie Portman goes, I'm a huge Natalie Portman fan, so I do love her in this movie. But in general, like without bias, I think she was okay. Definitely not like her best performance, but I kind of see why, because I don't think she was given a whole lot of opportunity to perform uh, to begin with. Like I think uh, her role and her material would have been better suited and her acting ability as well if this movie was truly about her as opposed to it being a Thor Odinson movie with Jane Foster taking up, like, she's still kind of secondary in this. If I'm, especially coming as someone that's actually read the comic books where this character debuted and was spotlighted and was legitimately Thor for a couple of years, it did that character so much justice where she was Thor and that was definitive, and there was no, Odin's son was Odin's son. He wasn't Thor. She was the mighty Thor, and she was the only one. And her character was great in those comic book runs, the Jason Aaron stuff. In this movie, she's still kind of a supporting actress. Like, I don't know if there's any way to like, if it makes sense to say that she's in between a supporting actress and a lead actress, but that's kind of how I feel with it. I think she could have just been better, but I don't blame that specifically on her. But she definitely had fun, and it looked like it was a very fun movie to make. Um, I really did enjoy it a lot, and overall performances were really great. I love Tessa Thompson as well in there. Um, there was some gripes like with Sif. I think we'll probably come back to that a little bit later. It's not worth talking about now, but just the usage of characters and the usage of some of the themes could have been improved, but I don't think it's any kind of movie just to worth saying that it's bad or it's just not up to par. I think it's just at best or at worst, it's like a mid kind of movie, and at best, it's a great Thor movie. It's definitely the number one or second best Thor movie, and that's not a hard bar to to volley over. But yeah, what do you think about it, Salim?
Yeah, I thought it was okay. Like I wasn't a huge fan of it. I thought it was how do I say this? I thought it felt like kind of like the last one, but not as fresh or good. Like I felt like some of the jokes were not well timed. It just felt cringy at times. I was like, why is there a joke here? Like it didn't feel right. I feel like as each movie has gone on, like Thor's become more and more of a dude bro. Like he was extra dude bro-ish in this movie, and I was just like, did they have to like make him act more dumb in a sense? Like just kind of like a guy that's um, a very much an airhead esque. That's what it felt like to me. Um, I don't know. Like I thought it was fine. Like I was expecting different, and then even Gore. Like he had his moment where he was dark, but for the most part, I felt like there was times that it was just also kind of like not funny, but kind of like I don't know what the word I'm looking for here is. Kind of like kind of like not dark, but like kind of like like kind of goofy at times. Like the way he was acting was like felt like goofy more so like he was being evil and kind of trying to scare, but just came off as goofy at times, especially when he's sitting in the like the big skull thing with the kids. We'll talk about the kids in a little bit, but in that sense, like he kind of comes off like what's he doing? This is just he's acting kind of goofy in this moment. It's like he's supposed to try to scare the kids, and obviously that's in the movie he does, but I just felt like he's acting like it just felt like again sorry not I don't have a thesaurus on me, but just felt goofy in that sense. So like for me, like I said, it was fine, it was decent. Like it definitely wasn't one of my favorite like MCU movies. Um Better than like the first two, no doubt, as far as Thor is concerned. But yeah, I didn't feel it. Like I just didn't feel it. Maybe my expectations were a little bit more because of how good Ragnarok was. And maybe I kind of set myself up for failure because of that. Because like I said, it was similar to Ragnarok, but like a watered down version of Ragnarok. And almost like the feel of the movie, not like the storyline and everything like that, but like the feel and the way they did the comedic moments and things like that. Just felt like a watered down version of that. So, like I said, I thought it was okay. Like for me personally, like I think the scenery was great. Like there was a lot of cool. Like I thought, like with the CGI and like especially when they go to the cities of the gods. I forgot what's the place called again, or with Zeus and all them.
Omnipotent City.
Yeah, because it's not Olympus. It's they call it something else. That was really cool. Obviously, the scene with when he's standing in front of that one god in the ice realm, the snow realm or whatever. That's cool. There's a lot of great scenes in this movie. I thought probably one of the better MCU movies in that regards. Like the scenery and the colors and the way they stuck out. I think that was probably one of the like best parts as far as all MCU movies concerned. But like the storyline overall, I thought was okay. And Natalie Portman, she was good, and I think I felt kind of same too. She wasn't like I was expecting something more different than what she ended up portraying. Like I thought she was going to be more. She kind of was in that acting like kind of like a. I don't want to say I don't know if the dude bro is right, but she was kind of she wasn't acting like her like Jane Foster.
Right. She was acting like her, like the whole thing with her trying to figure out like one-liners and stuff like that.
Right.
That is more of her being like a fresh hero, and she had a youthful approach to it, which is like that's the idea. Like that's what she was going for. That's what she was supposed to be going for, and I think that's fine. Honestly, I think that was a fun part of the movie. But the problem was for me is that it was like kind of a one time, maybe two times in the movie, as opposed to, like I said, if it was focused on Jane, where this was something that we had for a whole stretch of the movie, where we can see her be this immature, youthful, energetic hero at the beginning, and then as the movie goes on, her things get more serious. She starts to figure out herself and how to be a hero better, as well as deal with the cancer and deal with that. And as that gets heavier, she starts to get more serious, sort of thing. But there wasn't really a progression for that specifically. But obviously, I think like that, and that whole storyline with the cancer too, although I think it was handled fine. It felt like it had more weight when I read the comic books version of it, as opposed to watching it on screen. And then and it was
Right.
more impactful, or wasn't as impactful as it needed to be for it to make
Right.
it good cinema.
And Cliff makes a good point. He said my problem with this movie was it couldn't decide what type of movie to be. Director crammed several different movies into one. Kind of, yeah, I would agree with that. Like the tones shifted, and like I said, the comedic. It was just like I said, the jokes were not timed well at times. It just felt, like I said, cringy to me. In certain times when they decided to put in a joke. Yeah, so like I said, I thought it was okay. We'll move on though in here as far as getting more into some of the specific parts of the movie. First, we want to just kind of bring up again Tooth Gnasher and Tooth Grinder. Um,
I
a
mean,
little
those
fun,
are the jokes right there. Like that was,
right? Yeah, that
yeah,
was
that was
goofy as
unexpected.
hell, completely goofy as hell, and a little fun fact though, like the scream that they have, I guess it's a meme of a Taylor Swift song. There was like a screaming goat in one of her songs, like somebody added like screaming goats or whatever. And I guess the director uh, heard that and he's like, "Oh, let's use this," because they didn't know what they wanted these goats to sound like or what they would be like, and they kind of put those in there. And they were kind of like these. They just seemed kind of like a nuisance more than anything in here. They were funny, but they're just I don't know. They just thought they were kind of goofy and a nuisance in a sense. What were your thoughts on Tooth Grant Nasher and Tooth Grinder?
I was expecting like,
Grinder.
in the very least, like with the comic book versions of them, they are not just like in here, they're just brand new characters, brand new gifts given to him. But in comics, they've been with Thor for the longest time.
Mm-hmm.
So much so before Thor had Mjolnir, because he hasn't had that since he was born or anything like that. How Thor traveled when he needed to get around, because he can't just fly in the comic books. He actually what he does is wind up Mjolnir and throws it, and then the force of Mjolnir takes him, and that's how he flies. But before he had Mjolnir, he had these goats, and these goats could fly around, and that's how he traveled before. So he's had them for like millennia, like thousands of years. They're his friends, like they're not new. So here I was expecting a more serious approach to that, like these are goats that Valkyrie had, or these are my old goats, thanks for taking care of them. And I was expecting that, but they came out of nowhere. They were just gifted to him, and they were super annoying. And I thought that it made for a good, a comedy scene initially, like when you first meet them, and then they're on what's the thing called, the whatever the Guardians ship is called, I can't remember. Like in that, I thought it would be fine, but then after that, I thought it would die down a little bit. But it's still like every scene that they were in, they're just screaming like crazy. So it was a little much, but I'm fine with them in general. But yeah, I thought they looked good enough. Like but I wasn't super crazy after the fourth and fifth and sixth time of them screaming constantly.
Right, yeah. Like I I'm saying, kind of became a nuisance in this sense. It's like, all right, you guys need to chill out with this screaming. Like we've heard enough. It was funny the first few times. Now it's just kind of annoying. Stop it. But yeah, so moving on. Next part we to talk about Zeus and Omnipotent City, played by Russell Crowe. Um, this now his portrayal I liked. It was funny just
Mhm.
because I used to read a lot of Greek mythology, and like Zeus is an absolute dick. Like
Mhm.
he's a douchebag. And I like that's how they portrayed him, because like all the other stuff in media, when they portray Zeus, they portray him as a sophisticated, you know like um respectable person, like god, but he's a dick. Like that's how he is in the mythology, in the mythos, and in Greek gods. He's just an absolute dick, and I like that's how they portrayed him in here. Like Russell Crowe praised him as like an absolute douchebag, and I loved it. I thought that was hilarious, and I thought it was on point. What were your thoughts on Russell Crowe's portrayal in here?
I loved that he tried to give him a Greek accent.
All right, right,
I can't really like say it was so good or authentic, but at least he had tried. It wasn't just Russell Crowe talking, so I loved all of that. And then like the jokes, it's like, if you keep it up, or we're not gonna invite you to the orgy. You're not
right.
invited to the orgy. Like that, like that was funny. I really enjoyed all of that scene. Of course, the flick and the whole nude scene and everyone fainting and stuff like that. That was fun. Valkyrie and Mighty Thor eating grapes and chilling and sitting back. All of everything in Omnipotent City was pretty cool. Speaking of which, like, there's like a ton of gods, because it's where all of the gods were meeting. So it's not like it was just Greek stuff. But we mentioned before, there was Bast, the panther goddess, was there, and she was like right underneath Valkyrie and Mighty Thor. There's the god of Bao, right? For Bao, the food. There was all these other ones which I can't name everything, but I think there was the Korg, like his race of people, the god for them was there.
Right.
For what else? I can't remember everything else, but it was just cool to see all of that. I was expecting more, though. I think maybe we talked about this before, that we were expecting that all of these gods were going to be gathered together, and that Gore was going to go there and just kill everyone or kill so
Right.
many. And I
Right.
kind of feel like now that's just like a wasted opportunity, that he wasn't even trying to do that at all.
Yeah, they just talked about Gore killing a bunch of gods. They didn't really show him doing other than the opening scene where he kills that first god. And I forget, I missed which god was that.
That was the god of his people, of Gore's
Correct,
people.
but what was the name? Did they
I
say a
don't know the
name?
name. No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't know if he was like a god that's been in the mythos of different, like we've maybe read about before, or I can't. I'm not sure if it was like something they created, or it's from directly from the comic, or if they created this was for MCU, the name of the god. But yeah, I was just curious as far as what his name was, because I missed it. I was kind of like, I don't know what I think I had gotten like a bunch of messages on my phone, and I kind of panicked, like maybe something happened. It was just like random alerts that I got, so it kind of annoyed me. But anyways, yeah, it was. They didn't really talk about. They didn't really show him killing a lot of gods. They just talked about how he's going from place to place and just wiping out gods. And then obviously they show another they do show another god that's dead because of him. When I talked about in the when he's in that frozen ice realm, that god that's lying down, the big monster looking thing, that's a god that he kills. But yeah, Yeah, the city. It was interesting. That's what I thought too. Like we had like you said we talked about that he would go there and kill all these gods. Um, the fight scene in the end of that before they leave is kind of interesting. Like when they're fighting all those different, I don't know what they're guards or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like when they're killing them, like it's like gold, like their blood is gold, I guess. Like when they're all of them are like slicing them up and stuff, and it's like you just see a bunch of like gold being splattered everywhere. That was an interesting touch, I thought. But yeah, so moving on to the next part, kind of became a bit throughout the entire movie. Stormbreaker being jealous of Mjolnir, which was funny. Probably one of the funny scenes at times, and it showed like I guess this is like the first time that I think they've shown more of how each weapon technically is living in its own sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like they kind of reference it in the first three movies, like as far as Mjolnir is concerned, but this one showed more of like almost showed like if they had a personality in a sense, right? I thought that's
Yeah,
what they went more so towards.
yeah, I felt like I really enjoyed Stormbreaker, like because it felt like Stormbreaker was like a whole character within the movie.
Right.
Like Stormbreaker being all this jealous, like just popping up, especially like when they're in that one building back in Asgard, and after the attack, and Thor is staring at Jane, and she's got Mjolnir, and he's like trying to call it back to him, and then Stormbreaker just comes up from behind. Did you ring? Are you looking for me? I'm right here. And he's like, hey buddy, what's going on? Just looking for you. Like, I loved all that. And like you have to keep in mind, maybe just a refresher, the handle on Stormbreaker is the arm of Groot, of
Right.
teenage Groot specifically. And if you just think about teenage Groot and how moody he is, and all of that, it's still like that arm is still a tree that can grow. It's still, if he were to plant, because they even saw it earlier in the movie where he
Yeah, he
planted
did when
Stormbreaker into the ground and it
Right.
started growing roots. If he kept it in there, it would have grown into another Groot. It would have kept going. I also love that he pulled it out and he just jumped down like it was a witch's broom. That was fun.
Right.
But yeah, it's still like it is Groot, so it has that part of him as a like the personality of Stormbreaker is basically Groot. And Mjolnir, which they haven't like specifically said, but in the very least, if we're going to talk about comic book references, Mjolnir is a sentient. What it is that it's a sentient cosmic storm that Odin fought long time ago, and he is a sentient storm. It's alive. It can talk, but he fought it. He defeated it and trapped it inside the hammer and it's inside of Mjolnir. And so it can
Right.
talk. It didn't have like a huge history of doing it. It's more of a recent retcon basically, but in more recent years, it has this ability to communicate, and it did with Jane when she was Thor, as well as with Odin, or it means with Odin's son. So it is his. Gonna get to that, Chris. You're spoiling things. The Mjolnir is a whole character within the Marvel comic books. So them going back and forth with Stormbreaker and Mjolnir was really fun to me. And I don't know what we're going to see in the future with both of these hammers, but we'll get to that a little bit later. We do want to talk a little bit about Gore. How did you feel about just his character in this movie? Would you think he was utilized well? His storyline, was it any good, or was it average, bad?
The storyline is pretty close to like the origins, where his people pray to gods and he also prays to gods, and they show up in like the way it's happening, like his world that he's on is completely like a dystopia, like dry of any water. It's like a desert in a sense, and then his daughter finally dies. Until still to that point, he still believes in gods, and he's still praying and thinks the all this the suffering was worth it to the end, because when he gets into that Garden of Eden or whatever they show that garden is, he thinks that this was it. This is like what I suffered for, and I'm here now. But obviously, he is proven to be mistaken, and then he ends up killing his first god at that point. But yeah, like I said, so he was dark at times, but again, there was times where I felt like it was more like it just felt cringy and goofy when the way he was acting. Like when I referenced that one portion where when he's in that little skull with the kids, like I almost made me chuckle a little bit the way he was acting, as opposed to being like just absolutely like, oh man, this is creepy, or like scary, like creepy, yes, but like not scary, you know.
Mhm. Yeah, that's
So
what I
yeah,
meant
like
with the whole like American Psycho aspect of it. Is like he felt like he was that character, but gore, as
yeah,
opposed
so
to
like
being something unique.
yeah, I wish he was. To be honest, I felt like I wish he was more serious throughout the movie, just straight up dark, and I would have liked that better. I think personally, like if he was just straight dark and just not like a goofy sense, like a awkwardness feel throughout the movie, just constant dark and just really like chill, chilling character. That would have been cooler to the if he acted that way. I think that would have been better, in my opinion.
Mhm.
But like I said, he had his moments of being good. That's obviously, he is a good actor, and obviously that's the way he wanted to portray Gore, and that's what he went with. But I think for me personally, I think I would have liked it more if he was a little more serious and um, a little bit more, like I said, like just dark and chilling, as opposed to just the way that he ended up being. How about you? What are your thoughts on him?
I thought, yeah, like pretty much what you were saying. I think I mentioned before, like I really wish he had more contrast because in the comics he has his light skin or white skin or
Right,
whatever, but he has a more black costume, so it just has that contrast. And I would have liked to see that here, but they did have. Speaking of contrast, they do have the whole the black and white thing of the shadow realm going. So that was interesting too, because we didn't know exactly what was going on in the trailers until we watched the movie. But basically, in this area, uh, it's just all shadows. It's just all color is lost unless it was like lit specifically, like from Mjolnir and from the sparks of thunder and stuff like that. So there's some contrast there. But overall, his character was just kind of okay. Um, I didn't expect. I mean, like when they say Christian Bale's going to be in MCU, I don't expect him to be around, kind of like Hela, just a one and done sort of
right,
thing.
right.
I totally wasn't expecting him to be a hero or to do anything like Loki and be around for a decade or anything like that. So I'm fine with it. It's over. It's done. They did change his story, but they kind of adapted like parts of it because in the comics it was more. It's called it a god bomb. He actually went to the god of bombs to make a bomb that
Right.
kills gods, so he can kill everyone at one shot. But the idea here, which is a fairly big change, is that he has to go to eternity, the center of eternity, and ask for a wish because anyone that makes it there can get whatever they want. Comics eternity doesn't work that way at all, but I'm fine with them. It doesn't really matter for the MCU to me. But that's his wish. What his wish was to just make it easy to just kill all the gods with that one wish, which is why he didn't need to go to Omnipotent City to kill all the gods there or try to take advantage of that moment, because that's the whole point of that. I'll do real quick. Want to talk about Quantez's question about the Guardians. I think they were okay, but they were not very, very much utilized in the movie, and it makes sense though. They did have James Gunn, like anything is like that has to do with the Guardians in the MCU. James Gunn is there. He does write the dialogue for them. He does supervise all of that stuff because that is his baby. Like, there's no one's gonna like write Guardians for him or anything like that. So he was involved in this movie for the Guardians specifically. Um, but they weren't utilized very much. I think I said earlier that Thor is supposed to be in the next Guardians movie as well, and it is weird, but you have to also remember, which I mean, I can't make excuses for Marvel or what's going to happen in the future, but between the pandemic and James Gunn actually getting fired, if you remember that he actually got fired a couple of years ago and then got rehired, so all of these movies got delayed. We probably would have seen Guardians Volume 3 by now, and it would have been before this movie. And I'm pretty sure that's what it was originally. That would have been Volume 3 and then Love and Thunder after that, because it just makes more sense that after Endgame he went to hang out with the Guardians, and then there would have been the next Guardians movie. But between all of that drama and the pandemic and the reshuffling of Marvel, this is how it's gonna play out. Whether or not Thor's gonna have a big part in Guardians 3, we don't know, or if it's actually gonna happen. But that is something you just kind of have to keep in mind. Also, real quick, I don't know from what I've heard, but I don't know for sure that this is supposed to be the furthest in the timeline. Believe that this is supposed to be like 2026 that the Thor Love and Thunder is taking place. So it's way ahead of what's going on with Doctor Strange and what's going on with Spider-Man and the Hawkeye series and so on. So all of that stuff happened, and this is pretty far in the future. So maybe Guardians 3 happens before that, but we'll see. It's not something that hasn't happened before with Black Widow. That happened like in between before Infinity War but after Civil War, but it didn't come out until after Endgame. You see, so we'll see how that works out.
Right. Yeah, it'll be interesting. The Guardians, yeah, like you said, they're barely in the movie, and I thought they would be in a little bit longer than they were. We're gonna find out more about what they've been up to in the Christmas special they're gonna have. Obviously, that's gonna come out before Guardians 3. Q from Quincy, so they look out for that. I don't know if it's gonna be in December. I don't know if because I'm gonna say Christmas. I don't know if it's like physically around Christmas that it's coming out. But yeah, we're gonna find out what the Guardians are up to at that point. What did you think about Star-Lord's new look? Like he's noticeably slimmer, Chris Pratt that is, and the character, and he has he's different in general too. Like there's a more maturity about him. I guess maybe the things that he's went through with Gamora and Endgame maybe changed him. I got that feel from it. Like he's not the same Peter Quill that he was before Endgame.
I'd say I didn't give it much thought, or even notice his look, all that. I mean, I know he had like a new costume, but I didn't really give it much look or much thought about his character. And yeah, he's definitely, there's still like, that's pretty much what Guardians 3 is going to be, is them looking for Gamora and dealing with Adam Warlock. But to, again, like when that takes place, as well as how it's affected the character, I really don't know.
Yeah, I think yeah, like I said, I got that feel like just the way he was, like from what he's been in the other two. I feel like he's a little bit different in this one, and that's probably, it has to do with it, just with what happened with Gamora. Next, moving on, Astrid and Axel and the kids of Asgard. We briefly mentioned them earlier, and that's basically in the movie. Gore takes the kids of Asgard, and to kind of lure Thor with because he has a plan, obviously, to kind of lure Thor into a certain trap, if you will, and he knows that Thor will do it to save those kids. And we find out, I guess I guess Chris Hemsworth's two sons were in. All three kids were in it. Well, is it two? He has two sons, right? Or is he one son? Tristan Hemsworth is one of the sons, and the other son too, I think.
Pretty much everyone's kids were in this movie. Chris Hemsworth's kids, Christian Bale's kids, Natalie Portman's kids, and Taika Waititi's kids were all in this movie. Which we'll get back to Chris Hemsworth's kids, or this his daughter in a second. But all of the kids were in the movie for all of these actors, and Christian Bale's kids were a little bit older. So they're not here in this scene, as far as I understand. They're more in the Asgard scenes where they are like basically the tourist attraction area of Asgard. I think they were featured there. But Natalie Portman's kids are here, as well as Chris Hemsworth and Taika Waititi's kids. So this was very much like, if you didn't get like the name of the movie, Love and Thunder. The movie is about relationships. It's about love, because you do explore. Darn, I can't remember his name now. Korg, there you go. Korg and his how his race mates and finds a mate. He ended up finding a mate himself. You're exploring the aspect of Odin's son and Natalie Portman's and Jane Foster's relationship, even a little bit of Valkyrie, just to throw out there that she likes the ladies, and so on. The relationship of Gore and how his family and the whole gods and stuff. This movie was about love and relationships, but also Love is the name of Gore's daughter, which we'll come back to in a second, but that's the name of his daughter. So at the end of the movie, we get the Love and Thunder is basically Love and Thor. But in this scene here is where Thor has to impart some of his power to the kids of Asgard, because they are not warriors. They don't have a whole lot of fight training or any fight training. They didn't have any enchanted weapons. They just picked up whatever rocks and whatever axes and knives and stuff that was laying around in this little temple area, and he enchants all of their weapons and gives them the ability to and strengthens them so they can have the ability to fight back on these shadow monsters. So that was a fun scene.
Really quick about that scene, it kind of reminded me of when Odin whispers and gives like I remember in the first movie when he's whispering to Mjolnir and saying whoever is worthy shall be able to hold it, and throws it to earth. It kind of reminded me of that when he was kind of doing the enchantment and to give the kids the powers or the weapons the powers. It kind of reminded me of that in a sense, like when Odin did it, and he was kind of showing how he's the new Odin in a sense.
And you remember there was also that scene earlier in the movie where they were exploring the breakup between Jane and Odin's son, and he was saying, make sure you always protect her, and that actually went into Mjolnir, and it became an enchantment from Mjolnir. So he didn't know that, of course, and that's kind of why Mjolnir, when he came back and it reformed with Jane, it was more of like, okay, I'm protecting Jane now, and you've got Stormbreaker, so I don't need to come to you when you call me. I'm gonna go to her, like, and you're good. You got Stormbreaker. I'm gonna be with Jane, sort of thing.
Right, and obviously he can still pick up on it because he's worthy.
Right. I like that. How he had that. He had to check. He was just like, oh, just checking, just making sure.
Yeah. So yeah, he's that part isn't like, obviously that they go through that. Last or the next, not last. So last, we have a few things before we get to last. So the next part, again, like what Cliff mentioned earlier, but basically Love is played by India Rose Hemsworth, who is Chris Hemsworth's daughter in real life. Now, Love is like she's not in the Marvel comics. Thor doesn't have any children in the mainline 616 universe, and he's had kids in other worlds though, but Love isn't one of them. And she's just basically she's an all new character in this in the MCU, if you will. And then Gore also doesn't have a child named Love, and they never mention her real name, like her name when she's with Gore. Like Love is obviously something Thor starts calling her. Um, and in the comics, Gore actually has a son named Agar or Agar, and who ends up dying, and that's what pushes Gore over the brink. So like the kind of comic in a sense is a kid dying, but it's a son, not a daughter. And yeah, so that's interesting. And what I find interesting too is like I wonder if she's back again, if it'll be actually her again, if it'll be India Rose Hemsworth, or if they'll be like, oh, it'll be much again in the future and it'll be an older girl and they'll just recast her. I wonder what they'll do with that. But what were your thoughts on her as a character, and just your thoughts on moving forward, what they might do?
Yeah, I think and that's one good thing about knowing that if it is a 2026 film, is taking place in the future, that when we catch up to this in the MCU, as long, however long it takes for all these other movies and projects to come out, she'll be aged up a little bit more, like in real life.
That's
So she'll
true.
be
True.
taller. So I think whether or not they use her will probably be between Kevin Feige, Chris Hemsworth, and her. Like if she wants to come back, I'm pretty sure they want the continuity, they want the consistency, and they'll have her come back. Her father is Thor, so she'll have the opportunity to act with her father and be in a super successful franchise. Like no one, like how many kids in Hollywood get this opportunity? Not very many. So
Right.
she can be, if she really wants to come back and do it, I think they would absolutely allow her to come back and do it. It's just whether or not she wants to. If not, then they'll have to recast, and then there'll be a question of whether or not you want to age her up quickly. Do they want to age her up naturally? Do you throw her on the new Avengers, Young Avengers? Do you have her own solo series and stuff like that? But it doesn't have to be anything immediate, because I'm not entirely sure how old she's supposed to be in the movie, but she's definitely like not a teenager yet, or she's like preteens, like somewhere in there. So she's got time to go to school, high school, and they can have a series on that. They can age her up to be an adult and just throw her on the Avengers. They can retire Chris Hemsworth if they want to and replace him with her. We don't even know all of her abilities, but she is supposed to be like part God, because she was resurrected by eternity. So
Right.
between like I think they're implying that because she was resurrected by eternity, that some of his power is in him or in her, or perhaps it's because of Gore absorbing all of the powers in the Necro Sword, and maybe some of that rubbed off on her or something like that. But she does have powers of her own, and she is strong enough to wield Stormbreaker. And then at the end of the movie, she is wielding Stormbreaker, and Thor is back with Mjolnir, even though it's still kind of like it's messed up. It still can break up in pieces, which was we haven't mentioned, which was a pretty interesting. I wasn't expecting thing that to do with Mjolnir, that it can break up into small pieces and reform on command with Jane, and with presumably Odinson can do it too. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that, but yeah, we'll see if it ever actually gets fixed or if they keep it that way.
Yeah. That thing, like, are they gonna start referring to him as Thunder then? I'm like, he's not Thor, he's Thunder.
No, he'll
Because
still
like,
be Thor. I think it's just the branding for the movie, but like maybe the pair of them is Love and Thunder, like if you count them as like a team, but
right,
his name isn't changing to Thunder. And what is Thunder though? This is Thunder. that's
right. That's
that's
true.
the name of Zeus's bolt is called Thunder. So that's
Right,
another
right.
thing
Um,
for
and that's
learning
now
about it.
that's with now that's with Valkyrie. That's her. I guess that's going to be her weapon because she ends up keeping it, the bolt, Zeus's bolt. That is. Now we're getting to our final couple of ones. The post credit scenes. The first post credit scene is back in Omnipotent City, or I don't know if I forget if I'm saying that right. But it's Zeus talking. So he's not dead. He's just wounded really badly, and he's sitting there talking to somebody. And then we see him, and then we find out that when they look, he's talking to Hercules. Now, Hercules is a character in the Marvel comics, and this scene, you know what this scene kind of reminded me of? It gave me like it kind of felt familiar to kind of like in the end of post credit scene of Guardians when she's talking that one queen, and she's like ends up saying and like you'll avenge us and I'll call you Warlock. It kind of reminded me. It kind of same feel because he's talking to him like you're gonna avenge me and my son, and it's Hercules. It's kind of felt like that same. I don't know if you got that same feeling. It felt like similar to me.
Yeah, I mean, I see where you're coming at. But for me, like I had like a strong fist pump as soon as he showed up on screen. Because I think I've said this before. Like I've always loved Greek mythology in general. Like
Mm-hmm.
MCU aside, just loving Greek mythology, Aphrodite and Hercules and uh, and everyone, Zeus and Poseidon and stuff like that. And then Marvel on top of that having its own version of Greek mythology. And I just spent hours upon hours and days and years and months and years just like researching all of that stuff, learning about the cosmic side of Marvel, but also learning about the Greek mythology, the Norse mythology within Marvel. And Hercules has always been one of my favorite characters, despite the fact that I've never read a single comic book with him in it. I don't understand why I love him so much, but I absolutely love Hercules. Again, love Hercules as a Greek mythology character and love the MCU or the Marvel version of it. And now there's an MCU version of him. So I'm super happy to see that. And I'm hoping for a lot because, like you said earlier, Valkyrie has the Thunderbolt. Zeus is still alive. She has Thunder. Presumably, the next Thor movie is setting up Hercules versus Thor. So he might end up traveling to Asgard, and maybe he gets the Thunder back. Maybe he steals it back from Valkyrie. That could be a whole thing that happens. Like this, it'd be super weird for a Norse mythology uh, area, Asgard, to be holding on to Greek mythology weapon. So
Right.
I don't.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
something Cliff mentions hard to see Hercules as a bad guy. So he may not be a bad guy because in the comics he's not a bad guy. He's been on the Avengers. He's on the Defenders, Heroes for Hire. He's been on various different he is a good guy. He may just have a conflict with Thor. That's something completely separate. So he may not be a villain per se, just that he wants to avenge his father for what Thor did to him. So that could be just it. So he's probably, like I said, he's probably not an actual bad guy, and he won't be portrayed as the villain or bad guy. And maybe they'll do something where in the end they kind of see eye to eye. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean they fought numerous times in the comics, whether it just be because they were beefing or because of they just like to fight. Like they in the comic books, they've known each other for millennia. Like it's not like they
he's
just
actually
now.
Yeah, and in Marvel, he's actually first appears in 1965. So he's like, it's not like he came later. So he's been around probably almost, maybe not as long.
That's about as long as Thor has been around.
Maybe a long. I can't remember exactly when Thor appeared. I don't know if it was in the.
It was the early 60s.
Was it early 60s? I thought it was a lot older than that because I know
because he doesn't predate Fantastic Four or anything like that. They were early '60s.
was he
But yeah, the whole plot lines of going forward, we'll probably
62?
see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
1962 is when he first appears.
yeah, we'll see Hercules most likely in Avengers related stuff because he was an Avenger, and we'll see how they utilize him within the next Thor movie. How quickly? Did you get the name? I forget the name of the actor that's playing Hercules, um, but he already looks
No,
pretty ripped. I'm
right.
like he's
Yeah, I
like
don't know how much it. Yeah, I don't know if that was CGI or if that was just him. Like I couldn't tell because it was such a short scene. So who knows if they had him get really that bulked up just for just for like a 5 second scene, or if
but
they
you
did
know it could
CGI
be the beginning. Maybe
and then
they
eventually no, and then eventually
yeah.
he'll start preparing to get that as far as who he is.
But
Let's
yeah, I
see.
mean, by the time we see him like full fledged, he'll have plenty of time to work out. Brett Goldstein, Cliff says.
Yeah, Brett
Um,
Goldstein. Yep, there it is. Oh, okay. Cliff
so
mentioned
yeah,
it.
he looks pretty ripped already. So we'll see. And like again, Hercules within Greek mythology, he's like the strongest person within like the world. Like he is the strongest. He's got two people to fight right now. He's got Thor and you got the Hulk. And I really hope we can see Hercules and the Hulk because, of course, within Marvel canon, Hulk is the strongest, but Hercules is not that far down from Hulk. Like he's not stronger than Hulk because Hulk is fueled by rage, but Hercules is just kind of default strong. Like he is always that strong, whereas Hulk has levels and he can escalate too. But regardless, I still want to see somebody getting beat up and punched and thrown across half the planet and stuff like that. I want to see some Hercules fights. I want to see the mace that he has, the shield, and just to see what they do with this because that's another thing that it's kind of like a side plot now within Marvel because we already have like what's going on here with the gods getting revenge because it's not just getting revenge on him trying to kill Zeus, but it's more of it was the heroes taking the spotlight from the gods. Like they don't praise gods anymore; they praise heroes. So Zeus was like upset about that as well. So there might be a whole nother storyline going on with the gods versus the Avengers, and then you have the war with the Kang War plot line going on, and then you have uh what you call it's the whatever the stuff with Doctor Strange and the timelines and why can't I think it's Secret Wars aspect of it? Oh, that could be a whole nother ongoing thing, and who knows what's going to happen with Black Panther and um, with Captain Marvel when that comes out.
Right, right. So it'll be interesting where they go with that. The final second post credit scene we see. So obviously, Thor Jane does die in in the movie. They show her going back to becoming Jane Foster, and she ends up dying because of the cancer. It finally takes her, and in that she kind of vanishes into the way Odin did, and then this post credit scene essentially gives you an idea what happened to her. And in the post credit scene, you find out that she goes to Valhalla, and Hamadal greets her. Um, that was interesting because I thought Idris Elba was done with MCU. So I don't know if that is a hint. I don't know if that was just like a special appearance or if he's going to be back in some form with the MCU. Like if they'll show him again in some capacity. Obviously, because he has his wife and kid on Asgard still. So I don't know if that's going to be something. And maybe his kid will be in Young Avengers somehow. But yeah, that was interesting to me. That Idris Elba was back. What were your thoughts on that scene? Like, do you think there's a larger part, or do you think that was just a fun end scene?
What's funny is I was looking up pictures for this, and I found an interview that Idris Elba did last summer, so 2021, where he said that he isn't necessarily done playing Heimdall, which could have just been a teaser for this post credit scene for this movie, and that's it. He is dead, so there is that. So for what it's worth, he could be done, and they just don't bring him back anymore. And then just say that's impossible for him to come back. But there's also leaving the door open because we don't even know if Jane is going to come back. We don't know if she's definitively dead. As Cliff was saying earlier, she's Valkyrie now, or we don't. She in the comics, she's a Valkyrie now. She did die in the comics. She became a Valkyrie in the MCU. She's just in Valhalla. She's not a Valkyrie yet, but she could become a Valkyrie. Could restart the Valkyries. She could still very much, if they bring Jane back, is because Natalie Portman wants to come back, and because MCU has something for the character. So even though these characters are dead, it doesn't mean that they are permadead and that they can't come back. I mean, we just saw Love. She got resurrected by Eternity. There's ways for characters to be used or resurrected and come back to life. So Heimdall could absolutely come back, and if they have a good role for him, because I don't think he's just going to come back and be the same character that he was and used like in the first two movies, because he was pretty much did nothing. And that's when Thor Ragnarok, they got him out moving and fighting and stuff like that, and then him dying off later on in, what was it, Infinity War. But the same thing with Natalie Portman. She didn't want to come back to be the same old Jane Foster that she was before, because that's a terrible supporting role. It's just your typical girlfriend sort of thing. So she came back because Taika Waititi convinced her that, hey, we're going to do things differently and we're going to use your character differently. And she accepted the challenge of bulking up and becoming a superhero. That was the reason why she came back. So if she comes back for more, she'll probably want something even more significant than just a flashback or some sort of like a hologram thing. Oh, you're speaking to me from beyond the grave sort of thing. Like, I think she would want to have a full-fledged role, and it would have to be a good one. So we could see these characters come back. What's fun, and Cliff mentioning Loki.
Yeah, I was wondering, do you
was
think there's a variant of Loki in Valhalla? I was
well,
wondering.
it wouldn't be a variant. It would be the prime
Well, I
Loki.
guess the Prime Loki, I guess, yeah. I was wondering if he's in Valhalla, but
He should be.
the other thing I was actually wondering though is, since and maybe they'll show that, since Loki, when they show him taking the Tesseract and he blips out and goes somewhere else. So does that technically mean that everything else that happened with Loki never happens now?
That Loki was the variant, though. That wasn't the main Loki. That was the variant. That was in the other timeline.
But that's the they just go back in the past. That's a regular Loki still.
No, Loki is the Loki in the Loki series. That's the variant Loki.
Correct, but that Loki, when he gets in Endgame, when they're going back in time, and they go back in time after the first Avengers, and they're arresting Loki and taking away. That's regular Loki, and that's not.
He died in Infinity War. That is the main.
They go back in the past. That's regular Loki, because that
created a branch timeline, right? Doing that in and of itself. And then when he took the Tesseract, that created another branch timeline. But that is the Loki in the Loki series is not the main Loki. That is the variant Loki. That's why he has a variant on his clothing and stuff. The Loki that came from Endgame is the one that picked up the Tesseract, and then once he went and transported, he went to that planet, and then the TVA found him and said, "You're a variant of the Loki." So that is not the main Loki. The main Loki died in Infinity War.
Okay. I don't know. I'll have to go back and look at that. I don't know if I agree with that entirely. But anyways, I just thought that was interesting. But it'll be interesting if he is in Valhalla. That's something that's to keep on. And maybe Odin is in Valhalla. Obviously he is.
He should be. Yeah.
But yeah, maybe they'll go and do a show or a movie about Valhalla, and that's why they brought these guys back. Any other final thoughts you have on Thor? I do want to ask you something. There's like 2 bits that I wanted to bring up earlier, but I just kind of we went past it. And it kind of a problem I had. So Stormbreaker is the same as Mjolnir. You have to be worthy to hold Stormbreaker. You can't just anyone can't just pick up Stormbreaker.
That's not the case. Because Mjolnir
is that just for MCU? Is that just for MCU? Because in the comics, you 100% have to be worthy to pick up Stormbreaker.
Stormbreaker is the hammer that's for what's his name? The horse guy.
Yeah, but they make it for him because he's worthy to pick up Mjolnir, so then he's worthy also to pick up Stormbreaker.
Odin never enchanted Stormbreaker. It is only Mjolnir that's enchanted. And then in the MCU,
maybe the MCU that's okay. Maybe that's no, but in the comics too, you have to be worthy to pick up Stormbreaker because not everyone can pick up Stormbreaker in the comics.
No, that's real, but that's what I was saying before. That love got this godly power, so she's not going to be instantly destroyed, but it doesn't have anything to do with worthiness. It's just having the power to pick it up. So your brain isn't melted. Like if it was like say what's that kid's name? Or just any Joe Schmo from off the ground, off of the Marvel, whatever, couldn't pick up Stormbreaker. But it has nothing to do with the enchantment because Odin never enchanted Stormbreaker in the MCU or in the comics. Remember, Odin was already dead by the time Stormbreaker was made in the MCU. So there was never any enchantment from Odin on Stormbreaker. And it's just more of, are you worthy? Not worthy in the sense of can you pick it up, but can you use the power, because you have to have enough power for that. And the comics, God, what's his name? I can't even think of his name. Darn, I can't think of his name, but basically he looks like a horse, whatever. He was worthy of picking up Mjolnir because he was like the last of his race, but Mjolnir was enchanted. And once Thor and him fought, Odin and said, like, okay, you're worthy of Mjolnir, but you can't have my son's hammer. So I created Stormbreaker for you, but Stormbreaker was never enchanted.
Again, but like I said, maybe the MCU, that's fine. But in the comics, you have to be worthy to pick up Stormbreaker. That's what I'm saying. That's why it confused me. So maybe MCU is doing it differently, and that's fair, and that's perfectly understandable. That's why I was confused why Gore was able to pick up Stormbreaker, and I was like, wait, why is he able to pick him Stormbreaker? He's not worthy.
Beta Ray Bill. I'm sorry, I could not.
Beta Ray Bill. That's right.
I was like, it's been so long.
Beta Ray Bill. But yeah, so they're obviously they're going a little different from the comics, which is fine. They do that. The other thing I wanted to question is, like, when did they mention before where Stormbreaker has the access to the Rainbow Bridge, where he can teleport anywhere or transport anywhere?
They did that in Infinity War. Remember, they were in Vanaheim or wherever, the other realm, and he transferred it straight from there to Earth. Right. So he's been using the Rainbow Bridge the whole time.
Right. I just got confused on how, because I thought you have to physically have somebody, like, that's why Hamdallah would do that. He would catch them with the whatever, and so it kind of confused me there too. Okay, never mind. That's all the thoughts I had.
Yeah, Gore definitely would not be worthy.
Yeah. So that's why I was confused because, like I said, they're going a different route, but that's fine, and that explains it. Then that you don't in the MCU you don't have to be worthy to pick up Stormbreaker, but that works. But yeah, any other final thoughts that you might have?
Let me see. Yeah, so we'll talk about it. I don't know if it'll be next week or not, but Miss Marvel season finale was today, episode 6. So there is definitely a couple things to talk about with that. So whether it be next week or the week after, it will happen. So stay tuned for that. I did watch it today, so I'm not sure. Have you seen it, Salim?
Ms. Marvel, yeah, I finished the series.
Okay, so yeah, we'll definitely talk about it at
Yeah.
some point. And then we have some other things that we're working on for the next couple of shows. As far as again, I think the only other thing that I care about right now is Harley Quinn coming out later on this month on HBO Max. And then Resident Evil comes out tomorrow on Netflix. So I will be watching that. I don't know if it's all of the episodes of Resident Evil or if it's a week to week thing, but I'll probably wait a little while before we talk about that here.
Right. And Netflix usually does the binging thing, so they don't really do the week to week. So it'll probably be all the episodes that you can just straight up watch when they release it. So yeah, that's a good reminder that's definitely something for me to pop on and watch because I'm pretty much out of things to watch because The Boys ended, Ms. Marvel is over. I don't anything any else. I've been watching crappy Netflix movies for the most part, just really crappy movies that are not good, but just they're almost like comedy bad, like comically bad, I should say. But yeah, that's a wrap for today's episode. Again, if you have missed any previous episodes of ours, please check us out on the Barroom Network. You can watch on YouTube or just listen to the audio. Just search through Barroom Network for Science Flixtion. And obviously check out all the other great shows that the Barroom Network has to offer, covering all of Chicago sports and other various topics as well. For me and for Carleen, we're all set for tonight. You guys have a good time.
All right, guys, take it easy.
Thank you.